I did not tell him. Hello. I did not tell him to do that. That was totally his idea. But I'm glad it turned out good for him. Proud of him standing up. School board in Catawba County, and they reversed their mask decision. We do want to pray. They'll probably reverse it again in a couple weeks. Continue to pray for the persecuted church, y'all, in Syria, Afghanistan, all those places where they're absolutely being slaughtered for their faith. We won't even, if we come home and it's late and we haven't had supper, we just lay out of church, and they're giving their life. So, God have mercy on us if it ever comes here. God give us grace. All right. Take your Bible tonight, turn to Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapter number 2. We're going to study prophecy tonight. Now, prophecy is of no interest to a lot of people, but it should be, and Christians should be concerned about it. Honestly, I preached the whole message. I don't think I've preached it one time about 30 years ago. And the title of that message was Why Study Prophecy. Some people think it's a waste of time. But the whole message dealt with why you should know Bible prophecy. You should know Bible prophecy because it helps shapes your worldview. Your worldview determines how you act and behave on things. Now, tonight here in Daniel chapter 2, we're going to jump right here in this chapter and read about a king, Nebuchadnezzar, who was ruler over the whole Gentile world at that time, the Babylonian kingdom. Now, get your Bibles out now because you're going to need it. Daniel chapter 2. The book of Daniel is one of the tremendous book of prophecy. As a matter of fact, nobody can get Revelation half figured out without a knowledge of the book of Daniel. They're intertwined and vice versa. They complement each other. Over there in Daniel 9, that abomination of desolation that the Antichrist will do in the middle of the tribulation, where he sits on the throne of God there in the temple and claims to be God himself, and some other things we'll talk about some other time. That's the abomination of desolation in Daniel, mentioned in Daniel chapter number 9. When he goes in and declares, I am God now, I'm breaking my 7-year covenant with Israel, worship me, I am God. That's coming. Here in Daniel chapter 2, I'm going to show you tonight how we know what age the Lord's coming back. You stay with me now, and I'll show you how we know it. I did not say I know when the Lord's coming. I don't know the day, I don't know the hour, but we do know the times and the season. When a woman's going to have a baby, nobody knows the day or the hour, but you can sure tell the time and the season, can't you? They start getting huge. They can't even walk. Well, if they stood up straight, they'd fall over. At the back like it. So, the times and the seasons getting close. So here in Daniel chapter number 2, we see this. Let's look here in Daniel chapter 2 and verse number 1. Ready? I'm going to read some now, so don't let me lose you here. I don't like to leave you. I don't want you to get bored and start looking at your phone and staring at the ceiling. Let's read this with me. In the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, 2 words right together. Ain't that something? Nebuchadnezzar. What a name, man. Dreamed dreams, wherein with his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Stop. Many times in the Old Testament, God would show what he's getting ready to do by giving the leaders a dream. You say, well, God does that now? I mean, he could. And I'm not saying he wouldn't in certain circumstances, but they didn't have a Bible. God's not going to show you anything you need to know from the Bible with a dream. You've got a Bible, read it. And he sure ain't going to show you something against the Bible. So sometimes these Old Testament kings like Pharaoh, and they wasn't even saved. He's a heathen. God gave him a dream and showed him world prophecy right up until the millennium. The millennium, we have some people, maybe some new people here tonight. The millennium, what does that sound like? Meal, 1,000, annum, annual, 1,000 years. That's 1,000 years that Jesus rules on this earth. An old song says, I got a one-way ticket to glory land. You got cheated. We get a round trip ticket. We're going to go meet the Lord and be with him and then come back with him and rule on this earth for 1,000 years of what we call our honeymoon. Now, that's called the millennium. That's the seventh day of rest, corresponding with the seventh day of rest of creation. Now, here, this old king, he dreams a dream. And this dream gives world prophecy from him right on to the millennium. Here we go. Now, verse 2. And the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. All right, long story short, they can't do it. They want him to tell the dream, and verse 5 said, he said, the thing is gone from me. So he dreams this dream, and he knows it's something special, and he calls all his interpreters in and said, interpret it. And they say, well, tell us what it was, and we'll interpret it. He said, I can't remember it. Now, that happens to me a lot. Have you ever dreamed a dream, and it was so real and vivid, but the next day you could not remember it? That's a strange thing, isn't it? Now, others, boy, they just stick in your mind, and you remember them sometimes days, weeks, months, years. But sometimes I'll dream something, and I'll think, oh, my goodness, I just had a dream. And I can't remember it the next day. What was that I dreamed? That's a weird thing. That's what happened. It just is gone from him. And he said, now, look, you guys, you going to tell me what this dream means, or I'm going to kill you. We're going to have you killed because you ain't, here you are living in my kingdom, making a living. You get drawing a salary as being some great interpreter, and you can't interpret diddly squat. And you're not, I want an interpreter. And they said, we can't do it. And he said, well, I'll kill you if you can't. And they said, nobody can do that. They said, there's not a man alive. Look here at, let's see, verse 10. I want you to look at this. It's not the lesson, but look at it. He said, I skipped the verse here. They said, verse 10. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore, there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such a thing. They said, it's a strange thing that you require. Nobody knows this but the gods. Where'd they get that, reckon? Little g. They knew there's supernatural beings who dwelleth not with flesh. Now, I want you to look at that. It's not what I'm going to talk about tonight, but they said this. They said, king, we're the great astrologers. We studied Gene Dixon and Edgar Casey, and we've read all these books about Nostradamus, and nobody can interpret a dream that you can't tell. There's your great lesson to learn, people. Real smart, educated people think if they don't know something, nobody else can either. Get that in your heart and keep it there. Put that down deep in your heart and remember me saying that. Real smart, educated people, they think that if they don't know it, nobody else can. They think that we are out of our minds because we say we know there's a God. They say, well, nobody can know there's a God. You mean you don't? Like the old fellow said, the old atheist standing on the street corner of a sign said there is no God. And some old hillbilly went by and said, he means that he knows of. That's right. He means there ain't no God that he knows of. And they think, well, I've studied and I don't know there's God, so you dumb hillbillies can't know it either. They think we can't know we're saved. Nobody can know you're saved. You know why they say that? Because they don't know. That's what these guys did. They said, well, nobody can interpret that dream. Really? Daniel could. You better watch out for these people that say, nobody knows them. Nobody knows there's a God. I know there's a God. It's impossible that there could not be a God. That's scientifically impossible. Listen, and I said it. Look at verse 11. And it's a rare thing the king requires. Verse 12, king was angry. Verse 13, he went forth to kill him. Verse 14, then Daniel came in and with counsel and wisdom, and he said this. Why is the king so hard? Tell him to chill out for a minute and give me a little time. Verse 16, Daniel went in, desired the king that he give him time, that he would show the king the interpretation. Now, see, Daniel even comes in. Here's another lesson. Daniel comes in and say, he don't come in and say, I know it, man. I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. What is it, King? Let me tell you, I'll help you. He even said, give me some time to pray about this. He even said, I don't know it. In my knowledge, I have none. But there is a God in heaven that does. Make sure you always keep that attitude and that humility about you, that you don't say, because you're saved and you know the King James Bible's right, that you know it all, because you don't. You don't, I don't, nobody else does either. What little bit we know, we get from the Lord. And that's what Daniel was saying here. And he said, look at verse 17. Daniel went to his house. He went home, buddy. He didn't go to the library. He didn't go Google it and say, why do you know a king's dream when he forgets it? Amen. And he made the thing known to his buddies there, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he said they prayed that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven. And they prayed, and verse 19, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. And Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times. That's a strange verse. He changeth the times and the season. He removes kings, setteth up kings. He gives wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that have understanding. He revealeth the deep and dark things. And he praised God there. Daniel went in, told the king, look at verse number 26. He said, I got it, king. And Daniel said, I got it. And he said, I didn't get it because nothing I know. Verse 28, but there is a God in heaven. And he said, he maketh known to King Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. And here he goes. Verse 31. This is what we want to talk about tonight. Look at Daniel 2:31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee. The form thereof was terrible. This image head was of fine gold. His breast and his arms of silver. His belly and his thighs of brass. His legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part clay. Now, what he's telling him there is the four major world kingdoms: gold, silver, brass, iron, and iron and clay. Feet. Head of gold, then the silver. Silver is worth a little less than gold. It deteriorates as it goes down. This is Darwin in reverse. That's what this is. Charles Darwin said things never get better. Not by themselves. The only way something can be improved is somebody works on it. An outside force works on it. Nothing grows that gets better by itself. Nothing. And the world didn't get here by itself. An outside force did it. Now look, here's what he said. He said, King, you saw these kingdoms, and thou sawest till a stone that was cut out without hands, which smote the image on his feet. There's the way you know when the Lord's coming back. There's the way you know when the millennium's going to be set up. The stone don't hit the head. He didn't hit in Nebuchadnezzar's day. It don't hit the chest. The days of brass, Persia, Greece, it don't hit the belly and the thigh, it hits the feet. You know when the millennium is going to be set up? When there are going to be 10 toes representing 10 kings that are part iron and part clay, and that's when the Lord's going to set up his kingdom. That's right. That's exactly right. Now look at it. Look at it. Verse number 34. You saw until a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like chaff of the summer threshing floor, all the kingdoms of this world. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone, that's the Lord, the millennial kingdom, the stone builders rejected, smote the image and became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. There it is. There it is. Now, Look at verse number 38. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, beasts of the field, fowls of the heaven, hath he given in thine own hand. Thou hast made thee ruler over them all. King Nebuchadnezzar, thou art this head of gold. So we know that for a fact. He said, you are the head of gold. He said, now, this was 606 BC, approximately 600 BC. Nebuchadnezzar, the whole world, he said, you're the head. Now he said, after you, verse 39, will arise another kingdom inferior to thee. Gets a little bit worse. And another third kingdom, that second there, silver, third one of brass, which will rule over the earth. What was the silver? It was the Persian Empire. So it was Nebuchadnezzar, the head, Persia, the silver. That's who ruled the world after his kingdom was gone. And then another one is Greece, the next one, the Grecian Empire. That was the brass. And then he said, verse 40, and the fourth kingdom will be strong as iron. That's Antichrist. That's the Antichrist. So you got head, chest, belly, legs, and feet. Nebuchadnezzar, Persia, Greece, Rome, and then the Antichrist takes over. Rome was the last great world power, and then the Antichrist kingdom takes over. Now, the Antichrist runs the whole world with 10 kings. Them toes represent the 10 kings. Now, look at this. Verse number 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom will be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with clay. Now, hold your finger there just a second. We'll read another verse there in a minute. He said, this last kingdom, it's got 10 toes, and them toes are going to be part iron and part clay. Iron in the Bible represents those kingdoms. Iron Man. That's why Iron Man, all you see nowadays, iron this, iron that, computers, all that stuff. You know what them's made out of? You know what your cell phone's made out of? You know what your laptop's made out of? You know what all the stuff we use on? Iron, metal. And then he said it's going to be mixed with clay. That's what we're made out of. So you're going to mix man and machine. And this is my opinion. The rest of it, I'm telling you exactly. My opinion is there will be 10 demoniac kings rule with the Antichrist that are part human and part machine. And it's everywhere you look. It's on every cartoon. It's on every movie that predictive programming I preached about Sunday night and showed you that Hollywood about them predicting the Wuhan virus and all that kind of stuff. Hollywood always says it first so people think it's a joke. And then it really does happen. All them zombie stuff been on TV for the last 15 years. That's really going to happen. And do you know what? These guys here, look at it. Verse number 42. Now the toes are 10 kings. Verse 42, look at it. As the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they, that's them 10 kings, look at it, shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. So you got iron messing around with the seed of men. Why does it say that? If them 10 kings are just Vladimir Putin and people like that, why does it say they'll mix us up? That's no big deal. Whatever these things are, they're trying to mix iron with clay. Sons of God, daughters of men. That's them fallen sons of God back there in Genesis 6. And Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. Them sons of God mingled with women. They produced the giants. They produced the super men of renown. Oh, I forgot to announce. We're going to do the giants, y'all. We're going to do the giants 1 week from Sunday night. Start first Sunday in October. Finally, I figured you'd shout. She told me one day, she said, them giants are going to return back again time you preach on them, Brother Daddy. But they are coming. They are coming. And you will not believe the stuff that I got on them things. You won't believe it. It's going to be a fascinating study, and the kids are going to love it. We'll study giants all 4 Sunday nights in September, God willing. But anyway, these things are going to mingle, iron and clay. Now, when they start mingling with women and they start producing a super race, something that don't even have a soul, like them giants, they didn't go to heaven. They didn't go to hell. Maybe they did, I don't know. But their spirit kept roaming around, and that's where demons come from. Because everybody can't figure out where demons come from. The spirit of them things, they're still around. Millions of them. We'll study that when we get to it. But watch what happens here. Verse 44. And in the days of these kings, the ones where they're mixing iron and clay, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. There's your millennium. There's your millennium. Which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall consume and break in pieces and consume all the other kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. There's your millennium. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. That means it will not fail. Now, I've already showed you a few weeks ago how that the elite in the world, the smartest people in the world, rich people, all that, are saying they're going to implant a computer chip under your skin, on your brain, wire it to your brain, and you will literally be hooked up to the internet in your brain. That's being done. It's already being tested. And folks, we're getting there. Get ready, Wes. I want you to get them lights for me. And I'm going to let you hear the latest from Elon Musk. He's going to be talking about here. He's going to be talking about Elon Musk is here talking about AI. Now, I've talked to you about AI, artificial intelligence. And they say that we're coming to a point now, real soon, where they're going to reach singularity. Singularity is when artificial intelligence takes on a mind of its own. Robots, computers, without scientists. They said they was running some kind of a practice trial, something like that, test, and they said that these computers just left the scientists and started talking to each other, and the scientists couldn't even understand them. Now, when a spirit gets in them things, like it did the wheels in Ezekiel, man told me, he said, well, there ain't no way a spirit can get in a machine. Read Ezekiel chapter 1, brother, if you don't believe it. And a spirit was in them wheels. And a spirit, you let somebody get hooked up to the internet that's part iron. Did you know China right now is making soldiers to fight their armies so they could fight a big war and never lose a person? The robots are fighting. That's right. That's right. And we've got them too. Now listen to him. I hope you can read this from where you got good eyes, I hope, because you got to read this on the screen because he's pretty hard to understand. But he's saying this. He's saying it's already too late. We've messed around with this thing until it's gone so far where they're going to overtake and they'll start making the decisions. All right, let's see if I can get it going here.
The danger of nuclear warheads by a lot. Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nuclear warheads. He wants them to slow down and put and regulate it, but they won't. They're pushing it. And all the other stuff that's going on, you know what that means? The devil's preparing the world right now for the Antichrist to take over. Better quit playing church. Better get off the seat and do nothing. I'm telling you, y'all, listen to this. Hope you can see these words.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
He said, I tried for years to get them to slow down. They won't.
So-called AI experts is that they think they know more than they do. And they think they're smarter than they actually are. This tends to plague smart people. They define themselves by their intelligence, and
Hear that? He said this plagues smart people. They define themselves by their intelligence. They think they know it all. Here's the Bible's word. Here's what he's trying to say is what the Bible says. Professing them to be wise, they're supposed to be wise, they become fools. He don't know the Bible. If he did, man, he'd be dangerous for the Lord.
They don't like the idea that a machine can be way smarter than them, so they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed. That's the wishful thinking situation. I'm really very close to the cutting edge in AI, and
He cusses right there, so I'll leave it
people
out.
are vastly more than almost anyone knows. And the rate of improvement is exponential.
The rate of improvement is exponential. That means it's flying faster than we can even keep up with.
It feels like we are the biological bootloader for AI, effectively. We are building it.
Son, Eric showed me that. Son, they got robots that can do anything. Stack boxes, do them, wait on you at your table. They got robots that can stand and shoot 3-pointers and not miss one. Not miss one. Over and over. It's on the internet. Over in Japan. A robot. And he never misses. Steph Curry moved to Japan, I reckon. But, I mean, they got them that can do anything.
And then we're building progressively greater intelligence. And the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing.
Did you hear that? The percentage of intelligence that is not human. That means these machines are thinking it up themselves. And then as soon as they reach singularity, it's just going to take off and leave us in the dust, he says. Somebody had a little commercial there and I had to cut it out.
We will represent a very small percentage of intelligence.
It's going to come faster than anyone appreciates. I think it's with each passing year, the sophistication of computer intelligence is growing dramatically. I mean, I really think we're on an exponential improvement path of artificial intelligence, and the number of smart humans that are developing AI is also increasing dramatically. I mean, if you look at like the attendance at the AI conferences, they're doubling every year. They're getting full. I have a sort of a young cousin of mine who's graduating from Berkeley in computer science and physics, and I asked him, like, well, how many of the smart students are studying AI and computer science? And the answer is all of them.
Yes, a student at Berkeley. How many of the smart students are studying AI? And he said, all of them. Berkeley is a university of the devil. Always has been, as long as I remember hearing about it.
With a better approach or better outcome is that we achieve democratization of AI technology, meaning that no one company or small set of individuals has control over advanced AI technology. I think that's very dangerous. It could also get stolen by somebody bad, like some evil dictator or country could send their...
If it gets sold by somebody that's an evil dictator. My goodness, y'all.
Intelligence agency to go steal it and gain control. It just becomes a very unstable situation. I think if you've got any incredibly powerful AI, you just don't know who's who's going to control that. So it's not as though I think that the risk is that the AI would develop a will of its own right off the bat. I think it's more that's the concern is that someone may use it in a way that is bad. Or even if they weren't going to use it in a way that's bad, that somebody could take it from them and use it in a way that's bad.
Sure will.
That I think is quite a big danger.
We are, all of us already are cyborgs. So you have a machine extension of yourself in the form of your phone and your computer and all your applications.
Yep.
You are already superhuman.
Yep.
But by far, you have more power, more capability than the President of the United States had 30 years ago.
You have more power and capability in your pocket tonight than the president had 30 years ago, information-wise. You could, at your fingertips, you have more information than the president of the United States. We're already superhuman because of that phone in our hand. What's it going to be when it becomes a part of you?
If you have an internet link, you have an oracle of wisdom. You can communicate to millions of people. You can communicate to the rest of Earth instantly. I mean, these are magical powers that didn't exist not that long ago. So everyone is already superhuman.
I think the singularity is probably the right word, because we just don't know what's going to happen once there's intelligence substantially greater than that of a human brain.
We don't know what's going to happen. Well, somebody should be.
In most of the movies and TV featuring AI, they don't describe it in quite the way it's likely to actually take place. But I think you just have to consider, like, even in the benign scenario where if AI is much smarter than a person, what do we do?
Yeah.
What is that? What job do we have?
I have to say that when something is a danger to the public, then there needs to be some government agency.
Lord, no, don't put the government over it.
It's like we've got regulators in
But we're Antichrist going to get
car industry, drugs, food, anything that's sort of a public risk. I mean, I think this has to fall into the category of a public risk.
Usually there'll be some new technology. It will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry. There will be an investigation. Years will pass. There will be some sort of insight committee. There will be rulemaking. Then there will be oversight, eventually regulations. This all takes many years. This is the normal course of things. If you look at, say, automotive regulations, how long did it take?
Look at that. I don't want a car like that.
To be implemented?
Drive itself.
The auto industry fought seat belts, I think, for more than a decade. Successfully fought any regulations on seat belts, even though the numbers were extremely obvious. If you had a seatbelt on, you would be far less likely to die or be seriously injured. It was unequivocal. And the industry fought this for years successfully. Eventually, after many, many people died, regulators insisted on seatbelts. This time frame is not relevant to AI. You can't take 10 years.
We don't even have 10 years. Too dangerous, he said. Too late.
I'm not normally an advocate of regulation and oversight. I mean, I think one should generally err on the side of minimizing those things. But this is a case where you have a very serious danger to the public.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. It keeps going on and on, but my time's about gone for this. Give me the lights back on there, brother. Now, you couple that with all the other stuff that's going on. The wars, the rumors of wars. What's going on in Kabul, Afghanistan. What's going on right here in our own country. On top of that, the disease, the division over the coronavirus. You put on top of that, did you know that the government is paying farmers by the thousands to plow their crops under? You know that? They're paying. Well, if you I'm just going to throw up a figure. Say I had a corn crop and I was going to sell it like somewhere out west or some Montana or somewhere, and I was going to make $10,000. They'll pay me $15,000 to take a plow and plow it under. $600 extra per acre. Why are they doing that? You know what they're saying? Well, there's the environment needs this. I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to create a food shortage. And that's where we're headed, I'm afraid, people. You say, Lord, I didn't come to church. What do you want me to do? Stand up here and tell you everything's great? There's preachers that'll do that. Now, look, if you look at it from God's standpoint now, everything is going to be great, but not quite yet. But there's some dark days. According to the word of God, evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse. But we, according to his promise, look for that blessed hope. That's our hope. Our hope is not that a Republican will get elected and save us all. No, you can't trust them. Our hope is that Jesus will come and get us out of here. That's our hope right there. And that's what I advise you to look for. They're saying that the truck drivers won't work. Have you been to Walmart lately? Have you seen them empty shelves? Go look where the water, them shelves was full of water, and you can't hardly get it. It's almost empty now. It may be a year, but when you go to the store and you ain't got no milk, and then you have to do certain things before you can even buy it. I hope and pray the Lord gets us out of here soon. Tonight be fine with me. But if he don't, we're going to see some very, very, very dark times. And our country is not the country that you and I grew up in, y'all. It's a different world. I hate that. You know who I hate it for? My grandkids. I hate it for them. And maybe God will give us grace to let them grow up, see the great revivals and blessed and everything like us. But if he don't, there's some bad times coming. All right, I'm going to stop right there. You can go ahead and turn them things off, and we'll have a question or two right quick. Anybody got one or a comment? I didn't even get to all the stuff I want to talk about.